Hey, Debra, guess what time it is?
It's time to take a breath because I think it's Thursday.
Oh, praise God. I can't wait for Thursdays. The only thing better than Thursdays is Friday morning when we have our Women in Business Life group. But hey, it's Thursday, ladies. It is time to stop and take a breath. Put your stuff down. It's time for maybe take a walk, but take us with you. It is time to just spend a little bit of time, maybe learn a few things, maybe laugh a little, but more than that, just be inspired because we are here just to breathe.
Yep, and it's a good time to do that.
Debra,
Here we are in almost the start of summer, and there's probably a lot of activities going on. So, having a chance just to sit down and rest for a moment is a good thing.
That is so true. But today we have a very special guest with us, Miss Brooke Joyner. Welcome, Brooke.
Hi, thank you for having me.
We're so good to have you.
Well, if this is your first time joining us, today we have been actually talking about the Modern Proverbs 31 woman, not her to-do list, the characteristics, right? Because many of you may have read the Proverbs 31 woman and realized, oh yeah, that just makes me tired. And I don't think I can do all that. I don't know, Debra, how about you?
Well, when we've been talking about this, because, the first 2, 3, 4 times maybe I went through this thinking I need to be like this woman. I have to do all these things. I have to be all of this. And really, as we've been discovering her, it's about the characteristics in her relationship with God and her family and her community. And isn't that what women are all about?
Absolutely. And that is why we have invited Brooke here, because she is, in my opinion, an amazing Proverbs 31 woman. I had the blessing of meeting Brooke a couple of months ago in Dallas, Texas. No, Fort Lauderdale. You were down in Fort Lauderdale, right, Brooke?
Fort Lauderdale.
Yes, yep. Fort Lauderdale. See, I'm even getting my cities and states wrong. She's down in the South. She's down in Florida. And I got an opportunity to meet Brooke and just hear about her heart and her passion for business and community. Welcome, Brooke. We are so glad you're here. Tell the ladies a little bit about you and this amazing business that God has called you to do.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be with you. So my name is Brooke. I have a business with my husband. We have been married almost 9 years. We have 3 children and 1 on the way. And God called us to start a business that at the heart of it is to serve small business owners that no one else is really serving, and to serve the community and empower them to shop according to their core values. And like I said, God really called us to the business. He gave us the business idea. He told us the name of the business. And then he provided the resources a lot through the Nehemiah Project. Meeting you ladies was a big part of the, push forward to bring the business to life. And so we're just doing the best we can to help as many people as possible.
Brooke.
Go ahead, Debra.
Okay, sorry. I think we have a little delay. That's what happens. So, Brooke, I'm interested. Tell us. Well, first of all, I have so many questions. So, a little bit about how you serve the small business community, because I think it's really unique and allows us, as you said, to shop according to our values. And then I'd just love to hear, did the Lord speak to both of you? Did he speak individually? How did the Lord lay that plan upon you?
Yeah, so I'll start with the second question. Actually, he spoke to my husband. My husband was, we were together as a family, and he was doing an active service for the family, helping with some chores, because he's awesome. And God, it was a Sunday morning, because we go to mass at 2 p.m. And so Sunday mornings are kind of a chores morning. But anyway, God just spoke to him while he was doing that chore and told him everything. And then he maybe the next day told me, and we had been praying for a breakthrough, for a solution, because we had a problem arise that we weren't sure how we were going to overcome it. And so I was able to recognize that this is a solution. This is what we've been waiting for. And that especially became clear as we started to hammer out the details and realize the potential for scale. So that's how that happened. How we serve small businesses. So back to business, it's exclusively for independent small business owners with 30 employees or less. I think franchising is fantastic, but we don't accept franchisees on our platform. And it's not to exclude, it's to give a voice to those who have developed the concept, developed their branding, and who have been doing it all on their own all along, and who don't have the benefit of a large company's ad budget and marketing and advertising benefits. The other big thing that we operate with is that you can't buy your way to the top of the list. So we really believe this will help small business owners cut through the noise, because we all know showing up on a search result in the major search platforms, the results are purchased. If they're not purchased, they're SEO purchased, which is honestly more costly over more time than showing up in a Google ad search. The other thing is that 70% of consumers skip over sponsored search results anyway. So even if you're spending the money, they're not going to click on it anyway. So, but most of these small businesses, they can't pay $10,000 a month to show up in that search result. And so they're never found. So we just want to help them cut through all of that. When we monetize, everyone's fee is the same for the directory service. And if a consumer is looking for you, they will find you no matter what. So that is really the how that we want to serve them.
Excellent. Wow.
Well, I love this concept. As a small business owner, most of my businesses were, either as a solopreneur or it was me, 1, 2, 3 people, maybe. That is just really true. I just didn't even try on most of those, and it kept me local. But I understand you're focused on local search. Is that true?
Yes, it is true. And the local small businesses, that's a huge factor. And then the other key differentiator is the core values. So our intention is to focus on local areas. However, if someone in Colorado wants to purchase something from a specific business that participates in e-commerce as well, they would also find based on the core values. That being said, that's certainly the exception. We really are focusing on building the directory in local communities so that there are many businesses listed, because we serve all business types, so professional services, retail, food and beverage, etc. So that when the consumers go to the platform, they will find results for all of their consumer needs.
Well, I love that. But Brooke, you had mentioned when you were telling us a little bit, you've got 3 children, 1 on the way. And if I'm not mistaken, do you do this business full time?
No, we don't. We do this part-time. We also have a full-time job, and that's obviously a big challenge. But so it's a lot to manage for sure. But God can multiply our efforts and our time.
So I think we're talking to a real Proverbs 31 woman here, right? Because you've got your family and your community and your business and your employer and your employees and just all of these various things. But as we talked about earlier, it's not about a to-do list, right? It's about the characteristics. Now, most ladies, when we come together, we talk about the three things, right? What are some business practices, business principles, best practices, and then there's biblical principle, and then the supernatural. So, Brooke, I'd like to ask some questions on maybe what are, I don't know, three best business practices that you could share with these ladies, because there are a lot of ladies out there going, I've got one or two of the things you just listed, but not all three, because you also are a wife and you know, a daughter and you know, all of these other titles that we carry. So what are some best practices that you use to help you walk out the characteristics of that modern Proverbs 31? Because remember, we talked about it's not about our to-do list. So what are some best practices you can share with us?
Yeah, I would say best practices in terms of business specifically, or in managing it all.
Well, it's managing it all, because I imagine there's not a real line separating them. I don't imagine your calendar looks like, you know, color coding. Well, at this time I'm the mom, and this time I'm the wife, and from this time to this time I'm this. It kind of goes across. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. It does. It does. And I would say a good practice would be boundaries on the time. In the past, you know, we mixed it all too much. And what we found was just that the children were not getting the best. We really are committed to parenting the children well. So I would say having clear schedule and boundaries on the time is really important, not only for the work, because then it gives you a deadline, right? You have a clear schedule, you have to finish at this time. And there's just that amazing principle that the work will fill the time anyway. So may as well just put the end on, you know? And then also then the children, that enables me when I'm with them to be fully present. Same thing with my husband. My husband obviously is my business partner. We also work together in our day job. So it's really easy for work to be 24/7 without the boundaries. So I would say, yes, it's all blended, but try to keep it separate wherever you can. And when the time is up, the time is up. I do think it's easy to sort of say, oh, you know, it's just personal time. So work just creeps up and more important. But, you know, identifying it's like, no, work is actually less important. It really is. And, you know, so I have to stop now. That's something that we work on every day. It's not easy. The second, let's see. So that's a good one. You have time management and the boundaries on time. I would say, I do think making sure that you say your prayers is really important. And, you know, we're Catholic, so pray the rosary every day. That is just, it's not the same if we don't. So, and the rosary is not only for Catholics, just like, you know, everyone can pray the rosary. It's really a wonderful, life-changing thing. So I would say pray the rosary every day and go to church every Sunday. Never miss, no matter what, unless you die. And then you hope you're going to the real church. So, but yes, growing in holiness is a huge factor in managing it all and kind of keeping sanity, you know. And then,
I love that.
Yeah, the third, I guess, would be just continue growing and learning in practical things for you know, the business, and always being open to learn more, because there's more that we don't know than what we do.
I love it.
You know, Wendie, Brooke, what I'm hearing is really what we've talked about kind of from the very beginning. It's about alignment. It's alignment with God, myself, my family, my community, ensuring that those places, are taking, that they have the proper place in our day and in our life. And I really love this part as you're talking about making sure that we're in prayer, starting off our day, making sure that God's in control of what we're doing. He's leading us along those ways. Really does help us to keep the other important things in mind and important as well. Wow, I love that. I love that example, Wendie, of someone who's put those things in the proper order.
Absolutely. And I love what you said about, the continuing education. That is, and I love what you said, there's more we don't know than what we do know. I love the way you put that. That is so true. And I think that as a best practice, that is not just as an entrepreneur, but even as a mom and a wife, is to always be learning on how to grow in our relationships and all of that. But I think that continuing to learn, reading a book a month, a book a week, whatever, learning a new tool, whether you really were interested in learning how to do Excel formulas or not, just learning how to do that is something you might need to know in the future. I've been battling that one recently, just throwing that out there, ladies.
Oh, I love Excel personally.
Love-hate relationship. I do have love-hate.
It's tricky. It's really hard. And that's another thing. There's always more to learn in Excel if you get bored.
Exactly.
Well, Brooke, we talked a little bit about some business best practices. When you think about spiritual, biblical principles that you would recommend to others to follow, you've been part of the biblical entrepreneurship program. You're in the midst of it right now, getting your kingdom business plan together. But what are some principles that you feel are important as this modern Proverbs 31 woman that you want to hold on to?
Yeah, I think really running the business in the right way is so important. So that the business itself is serving people, is actually for their benefit and for their good, is really important to us. And then also serving the people that work with us. That's another big one. So serving the people and loving them as we would serve and love God is a big one for us. I think also operating the business in a way that's consistent with our values obviously is very important to us. And even if that's not always popular with other people, it's something that we have to do. And so being intellectually honest and honest to the end, following our beliefs, our values, our perspectives to their logical conclusions, which is action. And that's, a lot of integrity and honesty. So those are some of the ways that we were very pleased to learn biblical entrepreneurship exists, and we could learn about it because we had kind of already started thinking about some of those things before. And of course, biblical entrepreneurship only built on that, quite a bit more. So,
Wendie, really this idea of servant leadership, really underscores the idea of that we're stewards of this business of God's. I love what you said, living out the values, and that they are evident, that others, can see that. And that I think your term you said was honest to the end. And wow, if we can do that, no matter what's placed in front of us, the world is going to challenge us. That we know if we are true to our values and what God has asked us to do, what can man do to us? The Bible says that. What can man do to me if you're doing, if God is for us? I think these are just really something that a entrepreneur, but especially women entrepreneur, we don't have to compromise. We can hold on to our values.
Well, Deborah, that takes us right into our third, which is the supernatural. Because as biblical entrepreneurs, we want to utilize business best practices, biblical principles, but you know what? We got the best of the three is the supernatural. So how do you lean into that? You've already shared that the idea, was given to your husband, but how do you lean into that supernatural power as a Proverbs 31 woman, as an entrepreneur? How do you lean into that power daily?
That's a really good question. So I would say, as I mentioned before, you always want to be focusing on growing in holiness. That's very important, because that is what enables you to discern when things are a blessing. Obviously, you're being sent from God. So I would say, we really look out for when God is sending us things. That is really huge, because, and then we pray that it would just be clear so that we don't mess it up. Because we will totally mess it up. So please just tell me your will, because that is really my desire. So, ask him to reveal his will, that his will would be done. That is always our number one prayer, because I don't really know what is even good for me. I know what I want, but what's really good for me is the will of God. So praying that his will be done, just, always praying and growing in holiness to be able to discern what his will is. And then, what is then necessary is courage, and to do his will. Now, this one, people a lot of times tell me that I'm very courageous, and I don't really believe that, because for me, the drive to do God's will is enough to make me do it. But officially, for most people and in a lot of circumstances, what is necessary is courage. You can be a little crazy or you can be courageous, but either way, you have to find a way to do the thing that God asked you to do. So
I love that. Be either crazy or courageous, but just follow the Lord.
exactly. And maybe both. I don't know. But yeah. And then just again pursue it all the way, and be looking out for, hey, do I need to shift? Do I need to change? And then on top of that, I do think also the wise counsel is really important, because it's easy to think we're doing the right thing, but it's really nice to have someone outside. This is why another reason we love working with Nehemiah Project, because we do believe God brought you guys into our lives for a lot of reasons. And so I know, when I pray with my coach, when I'm listening to you guys, I do believe that God is using you guys to tell me things that I otherwise wouldn't hear. I otherwise wouldn't know. So seeking wise counsel from someone who aligns with your values can really help, just really help to ensure that you're on the right path, along the way.
I love that. And that I always, I joke around, Lord, I want a billboard with lights shining on it. Give me the discernment. Don't whisper it. I'm a little deaf in this ear, but I need a billboard so that I don't miss what you're telling me. I joke about that, but I think that, is so true, that constant seeking and that wise counsel. Debra and I aren't doing this podcast on our own, and there's a reason for that, right? There's a reason we invite women such as yourself here, because it's that seeking of wise counsel, that building that community, as you shared, that have the same values that we have. Ladies, if you're sitting and this is the first time you're hearing this podcast, I invite you, look here, there are 3 women who share your values, who seek the Lord in all that we do, who seek to serve. Join us in this community. And I'm about ready to go off on a tangent, so I have to step us back, because I just looked at the time and oh my stars, Debra, did you see the time?
I know.
we cannot forget to give these ladies some to-do lists and some scriptures.
Yeah, well, so some action items that are really important to do. So, Brooke, do you have any action items that I've got a couple of notes written down, but I want to give them from you that you think that are really important for ladies to take away today?
Yeah, I would just say, try to grow in holiness. I gotta say it every day. That's what I will tell you every time.
I love that. I do. Debra, what's one action item that you can give them from today?
I'm going to say this: prayer. We need prayer each and every day, starting off and understanding, who we are and who we work for. It's not my business; it's God's business. How does He want me to steward it? What's His plan, not mine?
I love that. Mine is about community. It's about surrounding myself with other believers who share my values, who are walking it out. Sometimes we're stumbling. I mean, come on, ladies, let's be real here. Sometimes we're stumbling along the path, but we are continuing to move forward. So, ladies, I encourage you to surround yourself with a community of people who share your core values. Well, now it's time. We've got to leave them with some scriptures because, see, we don't come to this professing to know a whole lot. We know where we want to go to get the right answers, right? So, Brooke, is there a scripture that you just feel you want to share with the women that you follow each day?
That's a good question. I feel like there are too many. I'm not. I don't have one off the top of my head that I feel called to share.
That's okay. We kind of put you on the spot because we usually send some things out. Debra, if you don't have one, I've got one I'd love to share.
You go right ahead, Wendie. I've got a couple outlined for myself as well, but you go ahead.
All right. Here's one that I just think just really hits with this community, and that is Matthew 18:20. For where two or more are gathered in my name, there am I with them. We have gathered today and we have invited him in. And as an entrepreneur, as you gather, continue to invite him in.
Fight that loneliness. Okay, mine comes from Psalms. My first one, Psalms 25, verse 4. Show me your ways, O Lord. Teach me your paths. Guide me in your truth and teach me, for you are God, my Savior, and my hope is in you all day long. And we know that the Lord is the one who guides us. He has all the answers, and we just need to tap into Him in order to get those answers. We need a second. You got a second one?
Yes, that'd be great.
Go ahead. Did you want to go ahead and share?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Well, it's sort of along the same lines lost my place. It was sort of along the same lines. But I'm going to talk about, I want to say this, especially for Brooke today. And it comes from Proverbs 31, as a Proverbs 31 woman. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat of the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband all, and he praises her. Thank you, Brooke.
Thank you, yes. Debra. Thank you both so much.
We are so honored that you joined us today. Ladies, we hope that you will join us next week as we continue on with our Proverbs 31. Debra, I think we're talking about stewardship next. Am I not mistaken?
We're talking about generosity.
Oh, that's right. Generosity. I love it. So join us for next week when we talk about the characteristic of generosity. Well, you know what? We have Nehemiah week coming up. Debra, it's like in weeks. It's weeks away. And our Nehemiah week is on operational excellence. And you know me, I'm all about loving the operational excellence. I love my processes so that I make sure I don't miss anything. We hope you can join us for Nehemiah Week. But one thing I'd like to announce today, Debra, is based on the state of the economy, Nehemiah, we are here to serve entrepreneurs, and we have decided to honor the early bird special all the way through. So rather than $3.99, you can get your ticket for $1.99 for the entire week. But we record it. If you can't make it for the whole week, but you want all the good stuff, register and you have access to all the recordings. And it is going to be an amazing week this year. So stay tuned to look for more. Debra, it's time to close.
Well, we always close with 1 Chronicles 16, where seek the Lord in his face, seek his strength always. Thank you, lady. Thank you, Brooke. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.